Welcome to Cyber Sentries from Cyberproof on True Story FM. I'm your host, John Richards. Here, we explore the transformative potential of AI for cloud security. This episode is brought to you by Cyberproof, a leading managed security services provider. Learn more at cyberproof.com. On this episode, I'm joined by Field CTO at DataBahn, Dina Kamal. We talk through how data pipelines, AI, and security all come together, changing how teams think about security, visibility, and what data they actually need to keep. We also unpack why AI on its own isn't enough, and how combining domain expertise, real-world context, and AI is where real value shows up. Hello, everyone. Welcome. We are joined today by Dina Kamal, Field CTO at DataBahn. Dina, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. Very happy to be with you here today, John. Very exciting.
Well, I'm so excited to have you here on the show today. And we're going to be talking about something that's kind of new and emerging in the space. And so I'm excited to hear from you on that. But before we dive into a little more about the space that DataBahn is in, I'd love to hear about your journey to being CTO there. So can you talk through kind of how you got to this spot? You know, what's it look like to end up being a field CTO there?
No, of course. So I'll give you the cliff notes, as we say in Canada. So I was a senior partner in Deloitte, a cybersecurity partner, built a lot of security operations centers in my day all over the world. And then I moved to the AI practice, became an AI partner. Nanda Santana, the CEO of DataBahn, who I worked with briefly in another life, if you will, reached out to me to kind of get my feedback on the product he's building with the team. The company was still in stealth, and he just wanted to get my take on it and maybe if I can help him with the go-to-market. So I saw the product, and from what I saw, basically it takes what I used to do with my team in about 8 months and does it in 4 to 6 weeks. And it saves customers money. So I gotta, when they say you hear the angels singing, so that's what I heard. I'm like, oh, there was a lot of explosion. Like, oh my God! Like I almost fell off my chair, and I was like, no, I'm gonna work with you. I'm gonna be one of the founders. And he's like, no, I mean, we can afford you. Like, this is not gonna work. I'm like, no. So it was this dance of like, this is like too good. Like, it felt like, I'm just like in the burst of electricity, and I'm like, no, I want to be part of this. So fast forward, it's been almost 2 years, and it's been a lot of fun.
That's incredible. So my understanding, the area you all focus in is this data pipeline management. So for folks that are like, what does this mean? Why do we need it? What was it people were taking 8 months to do that suddenly got shortened down to just weeks?
So basically, as a data pipeline product, we sit in the middle between all the security devices or security sources you have and your SIEM. And if we step back, so when I said I built a lot of security operation centers, that usually includes enhancing a SIEM or upgrading a SIEM or building a new SIEM capability. So within these projects, people think that what takes most time is creating new use cases and the configuration you need to do on the same product. What actually takes about 2/3 of the time is the data integration work to move the data from where it is to the right format that the SIEM expects in an effective way. And, that will take a lot of time from a team on doing custom connection and custom parsers and doing a lot of engineering effort, which was quite expensive. Like I made a lot of money for my firm just by that engineering work. So DataBahn automates all of that. We have out-of-the-box capability, basically a data engineering box that allows you to basically onboard a new data source into your SIEM or really any analytics capability for that matter with a click of a mouse. That's why when I saw it, I was like in awe. So that's one part of it. I think the other very important part is we also have that knowledge as security practitioner that we've been using our SIEM solution as a dumping ground for all our data, just in case we might need it. But that's a very expensive way to store your data because SIEM licenses are quite expensive. And we didn't really have the ability to tell what has value for security detection and what does not. So we end up just dumping everything. And the issue with that is, you're obviously overpaying for stuff you're not using, but you also run out of space to ingest additional data that you actually use for this detection. So the other element we have is basically having that content or knowledge, what has security value to send to a SIEM, and the rest we can send like for storage, for archiving, and so on. So that allows clients or organizations basically to maintain their compliance requirements, offload their SIEM, and save money. So I always say this is one example where you can have your cake and eat it too, if I may say.
Yeah. So is the target then folks who don't have that process yet at maturity? Like that's obviously a target. Is there value for folks who already have kind of the SIEM built out to still adopt this practice?
So I always say that if you have a SIEM solution, I think it's very important for you to think about, am I getting the value I want from it? Do I have the right data feeding into it? And that's something actually we also do around doing that analysis against like the MITRE ATT&CK framework to say, are you actually collecting the right data to detect the threats that are most relevant to you? And because we think that we just dump some data into the SIEM, have some use cases enabled the end, we're fine. But that is not enough. And it's not the right way to do it. And we see some customers who are like optimizing their costs, saying, how can I actually do more with less? This is one way where you can cut on your license cost without impacting your threat detection capability. But also we're seeing many organizations saying, you know what, I want to own my data. Because instead of me shipping all my data to a cloud for a SIEM vendor, I want to have a copy of all my data. So whenever I decide to go to a new SIEM vendor, a new MSSP provider, or I want to actually have another copy to run my own threat hunting analytics on it. So we allow for that, being able to forward the data to multiple destinations. So the customer is also having that ability to fully have full control on their data, especially as they consider additional capability, as I was saying, like, agentic AI or threat hunting and so on.
Do you see a lot of folks needing to change vendors in the space as that makes owning that data an important step there?
Oh my God. So there is about 2 to 3 cycle right now. So most organizations are churning their SIEMs anywhere between 2 to 3 years, maximum 5 years. So having that ownership of your data, I think, is very important because it becomes very challenging if you want to move your historic data into that new format. We've seen actually some vendor demanding to be paid to give a copy of the data that the customer already had, of the customer's data. So having that prior copy, I think, is very important. So by decoupling data collection, we always say that if you want to change your tap, you're not supposed to change all your plumbing. So now we're decoupling the tap from the plumbing. So if you want to change the tap to a fancier one and a new one or a better one, the plumbing, i.e. the data pipeline capability, stays.
And you're doing this without you all storing the data either, right? You're facilitating that through how you set up those pipelines and keeping a copy in their own location. Like it's not, DataBahn has my data now. It's they own their actual data, right?
Fantastic point. Yes. So we add a transitory layer. We don't store any data. We don't keep a copy of the data. We just process it from one end, and we enrich the data to make sure that you're getting highly enriched data, either enriched by threat intelligence, by your assets information, or any other details you give us, or by location as an example. So that allows you to send to your SIEM or analytics layer highly contextualized data, which means you'll have lower false positives, higher visibility, and you can have a copy of your own data in your environment. And we are just, we're just a very smart middleware, and that is easy to use.
So can you speak a little bit about why people need it? I mean, you've been talking a little bit around this, but are there any use cases of here's what went wrong, and if they had done this, they would have taken care of it?
So many horror stories. We need a few podcasts for this. I think the first one is time to value, right? So what does time to value means? First, if you have additional data sources you need to onboard, I think we accelerate that. As I was saying, in my prior life, it used to take months. Now it takes a few days or weeks to do that data integration. So I think this is very important. The second point is we've seen some SIEM vendors, and I will be careful not to name names because that's not why we're here. Some SIEM vendors are extremely hard to integrate with, which is really mind-boggling. I'm like, yes, the product works from a use case perspective, but if it's impossible to get data into it, I'm not sure how I can get value out of you. So some customers come to us for that because we make that integration very easy. We can have the data available in any format the customer wants, and I can blabber them like, Ceph, CSV, JSON, UGM, Sentinel, SIEM from Splunk. So name the technology. So I think by having that flexibility, then if you decide to choose a certain SIEM technology or a certain data lake like Databricks or Snowflake or what have you, or like the new Sentinel Lake, we can make the data available to that destination in the format it needs very easily. And that really opens up the visibility for the customer. Many customers come to us, honestly, to save costs because they're like, I'm collecting so much data and I know I don't need a lot of it. I'm not getting value out of it. So by us being able to not only filter the data, but know what to filter. I think people miss that starting data to multiple destinations is important, but it's not enough. That knowledge around what has value per data source and what does not at the event type, that is our intellectual property that came from years and years of experience. Like, for example, for firewalls, one of the banks we worked with, they have Splunk, and we're able to do the full implementation within 6 weeks and reduce the volume by 70% without impacting the threat detection. So to have that kind of cost efficiency, if you will, especially in that economy, while being able to deliver the same value for the organization from a security perspective, I think it's quite powerful. We also have, for example, an airline. So this airline had, for example, their black box data. So with their black box data, they had a separate SIEM just for black box data because they couldn't integrate this data into their SIEM solution. Within an afternoon, using our AI capability that basically allowed the organization, we have an AI model that basically looks at the patterns in the raw data and identify the patterns and give a beautifully parsed file in the format the customer wants. So within an afternoon, they were able to get the format required, and now they are able to feed their black box data directly into their SIEM.
Wow, that's huge. Okay.
I know how cool is this. Yeah. I get excited about very nerdy things, but it's really cool,
Yeah, no, it's incredible. And you kind of teed up here because I was going to ask, what led you do this so much quicker than everyone else? So it sounds like there's an AI piece. Is that really the secret sauce? We've got an AI model that's just better than everyone else? Or is there more about is there a certain approach you take that shapes how that model works? Like, what was it about this process that allows you to just skip so much time and be so efficient where other folks are like, we can't even get this to talk to that SIEM, so we've got to have a second one?
I'll be very cheeky and say because we're super awesome, but then I'll give you the proper answer. So I sit, as I mentioned in my intro, between the AI and the security universe. And the reality of it is there are very few companies and practitioners and engineers that actually understand, that are AI engineers who understand cybersecurity, or cybersecurity engineers that truly know how to use AI at an engineering level. And that's what we have, And I'll give you an example. And so that's why it's both AI and that's deep cybersecurity expertise. So just to give you an example on this, one of the things we're working on is to have the data in an OCSF transformation. So to get the data into OCSF transformation, the OCSF as a standard, God bless whoever did it. I don't want to see them in person and maybe I'll strangle them. Very convoluted. The thing has like 16 million fields because it has like different layers. like it's very hierarchical, if you will. So it needs someone who really understands at the data engineering level, but also understands what fields the SIEM would expect for an OSS transformation to work. And I know I'm being nerdy here, but that's level of understanding. And then fine tune and configure and create an agentic AI application that will have that level of understanding. So you have to have the mix of deep data engineering expertise, deep AI expertise, but also really, really understand what does a cybersecurity organization expects. And I can give you a few more examples if your brain did not blow up, I'm hoping.
Yeah. It may have blown up a little bit, but I would love another example. But I also just want to comment that, like, it's fascinating because everybody's worried about AI overtaking everything. But there is this place where what's really powerful is getting an incredibly knowledgeable expert with just deep knowledge in the space.
Oh, 100%.
Using deep understanding of how AI works and being able to combine that. And then, as you said, layering on an understanding of the problem space. And really, when those three come together, you get something really unique. So yes, please share one more example. I'd love to hear it.
No, you truly get magic. And someone who, like, I moonlight sometimes with the AI engineering effort. The AI tools we have right now are extremely lazy. So without that,
yes.
Oh my God. But so without that human in the loop who actually has that expertise and that true knowledge to guide the AI model around what outputs we expect and how we should get there and have the right guardrails, you really get like smart looking garbage. That actually, and I see a lot of that with stuff like looks really fancy, but I'm like, I can't believe people are actually buying this, but I'm not gonna go there. So looking at that, like the chatbot capability I mentioned, and we call it data reef. So a typical chatbot capability, it uses something we call RAG. So RAG stands for Retrieval Augmented Generation. So basically, you feed a document or a bunch of documents into the model, if you will, give it to the model as additional context. So for example, when I'm saying, what do you know about the stock? It basically finds the first match against that stock, and usually it's a similarity search. So I'm saying, look for Apple. It will look something that looks like an apple, like the Apple word, and then come back to me. So that usually works well. But the problem is if I'm asking for 10.1.1.1, the model will for sure confuse that to 10.1.2, 10.10, because the similarity is search.
Yeah, they're nearly identical. Why would they?
They are nearly identical, Or even like, so my name is Dina. One of my colleagues, our chief product officer, name is Aditya. If you use similarity search, it actually thinks we are the same name because we have DI and A in our names. So what we needed to do is add that additional layer of retrieval as keyword search, and not any keyword search. The keyword search has to be trained on cybersecurity data, because when I say bot for cybersecurity is different from bot in a typical natural language. When I say domain name for cybersecurity is different from domain name in a typical English language text, right? And then we have a graph capability to basically stitch the data, because when I'm asking, tell me what you know about Dina, basically I want to know about Dina's IP address, Dina's machine, Dina's host name, Dina's email. So from the persona of an investigator, when I'm asking about Dina, I'm asking about all her entity. That's why we have to do entity resolution. So use graph database. So I'm asking about Dina. The chatbot will give me all contextual information about Dina, not just the first match against that name. And so this is a lot more sophisticated and a lot more complicated. And again, that requires deep AI knowledge, but also deep understanding of graph technology and deep understanding of the user experience as a cybersecurity practitioner. Because when I'm asking a cybersecurity investigator is different from asking at a cybersecurity compliance officer than asking at a CISO. So we also create basically that experience based on the persona to give them the response that really is meaningful for them. And that's really the art and the science of using AI and cybersecurity knowledge together.
The art and science for sure, but both almost in equal measures. Now, so you've mentioned kind of two areas here. One, you're using this to allow you to onboard these integrations that are either impossible or take forever in rapid timelines. And then you're talking about this chatbot here that allows people to gain security insights. So how do you do that when you're not storing the data? Are you at runtime accessing that, or is this based on the data you see just as it flows through? Or, I'm trying to understand here if you're like, as you're monitoring what's going through the pipeline, that data key things are being pulled out, or if you're going back to the data and looking at it as the person asks questions.
Oh my God, you're asking very technical questions. I'm very impressed. Yes, it's interesting that you caught on that. Yes. So for the first one, we can do it at the data on the fly, and we just need actually a data capture. Like we need a sample of the data, and because some customers are not really ready to use AI yet. So in that case, for that first use case, for us to create AI-enabled parsers, if you will, we just need to have a sample data file, and that could be sanitized because, like, for example, work with government organizations. So it's super sanitized because I just need to know the fields in the data file, and we use that to create the parser. And then there is no AI from there, right? So we also have another capability we're launching soon. Maybe I'm doing the GA before it's GA, like AI-powered collector. So for example, if we want to pull in data or create a new API connectivity for a product, so right now we have in our library 500 or so collectors to pull in the data from different sources. And some customers say, well, what if I have a product that you don't support yet? Usually it takes between 1 to 2 weeks, which is quite fast compared to other vendors. But now we have this AI capability that actually does that on the fly. Like basically, it takes 5 minutes to give you the YAML configuration file with the connector. And it's pretty cool, right? So in that case, the only thing I need from the customer is the name of the product. That's it. And the YAML file will pop from there. So these are ways that allow customers, even who are not ready to adopt AI in their day-to-day, to still get the benefits of AI, if you will, in terms of the ease of use, streamlining and data engineering effort. The other example from a security operation perspective, that chatbot, we actually start capturing the metadata. So that's why we call it a reef. So we're not storing all the data, we're just capturing the data that we know will be we call them micro insights. So we're only capturing these micro insights that I know will be most relevant for a security investigator or whatever persona the customer asks us to provide in terms of data reef capability. So it meant to be the creme de la creme of the customer's data. Does that make sense? And we don't need to store it ourselves. We actually make that available on the customer's own environment. So we don't need to store the data anywhere.
What of that data do you see right now being most useful for your partners? Like, I'm sure they're using it in a lot of wide ranges. That's the advantage of a chatbot. But is there certain pieces of data or insights that are unique to what you're being able to pull out this way that people are like, oh, this really saved me time or saved me from some risk that I would have had otherwise?
So I'll give you actually another example that we're using AI for that is so boring. I shouldn't say boring, but it's so powerful and important. It's for SOX reporting, SOX reporting. So many organizations have to do that SOX reporting, and they have a lot of documentation that have SOX, different pieces of information. I need to pull all of this information. So we have a number of our clients where they have like a team of 4 to 6 people who actually go through these reports, try to pull in the data, and then put it in one Excel sheet and try to kind of make sense of it, of this week compared to last week. So that manual effort is quite really horrendous, but it needs to be done. So what we do is we use AI to basically pull in the relevant data from all of those documentation and run analysis and give them that beautiful dashboard in like no time, like in a few minutes. And we can also easily do that trend analysis depending the different version that we received. Or another use case around CISO dashboarding. I worked with a lot of CISOs that their team can spend 2 weeks to create a monthly report, because you have to collect all kinds of data. But again, being able to, again, as a data highway, where we have visibility in all of the data, but also we don't have to collect logs. We can also ingest asset database. We can ingest ticketing information or threat intel data or, or PDFs or documentation. So because we have the flexibility to ingest data in different formats, then we can do that level of analysis on it and then auto create a beautiful dashboard, because you can really use a mix of machine learning and old-fashioned data scraping, if you will, along with a nice Gemini to create a very fancy report for you, or whatever LLM the customer is okay with, So we apply our understanding of the workflow of a SOC or a security organization, depending on the use case, and then figure out what are the right tools. And we have a capability, again, we're launching in January, that allow us to have that foundational capability in a low-code, no-code way. So the customer can actually empowered to create that end-to-end agentic capability very easily to meet different requirements.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier more with less. I don't know if that's like a company slogan or a mission, or value, but nobody gets into security to spend 2 weeks creating reports or to fill
100%.
out, these SOX report, even though it is very important. And so being able to take that off so that those teams can be focused on work that's really going to matter is huge. Yeah, no,
100%. But that's a key point, because we're trying to use AI in a way that makes the security team's life easier so they can focus on higher value stuff. There's a lot of stuff as security practitioners, stuff we do, I call them the brain numbing stuff. So we're trying to have DataBahn as a product help you do the brain numbing stuff on your behalf quickly and cheaply. Which I think is not a bad mandate to have. It's not a bad mission to have.
Yeah, no, that's huge. And so if you've put this in place, say, as an organization, what are the areas now that you're able to start getting visibility into and feel like, hey, this isn't out of control anymore?
It's actually interesting, because one of the things as soon as we get in is a customer saying, oh my God, now I have so much additional capacity in my SIEM. Oh, now I can get visibility into the subsidiary that I have no clue what's happening there. Or, oh, now I can get actually visibility into my OT environment a lot better, or I can actually expand my visibility into application layer, or can you help me, run some analysis with the visibility you have on maybe service accounts misuse, So there's different ways where we're able to show value very quickly. And again, the bottom line savings that the customer get, it makes them very happy. We had a customer actually cried in our sales meeting last year. A few of our customers called him, but one of our customers said, you guys made my Christmas because I got a bonus because I was able to save a lot of money, or our license. I'm like, oh my God, I'm not used to my customers being so happy. So one of the stories I can share with you is, we had one of our customers, they actually built about, I think, 12 applications. It's a financial services company, and they were supposed to go online, basically launch those applications or that capability within 2 weeks. And then they realized that there is actually a requirement for them to have this application monitored by the SIEM. When they went to the engineering team around the effort to do that integration, they were told it will take 6 months. So you can imagine the freak out that happened because of that. So the CISO gave me a call, and I was like, oh, no problem, no issues. And I kid you not, by the next day, we had the integration figured out. It did take a couple of weeks, I'll tell you, just going through the change master process of that organization, but it was done. And I think they were able to go on time. So those things, by being at the right time and the right place, being that helpful, I think these are things that really makes our day as an organization as DataBahn.
Yeah, no doubt. And I love hearing satisfied customer stories. And, because, it's really about solving challenges and problems people are facing. And when you're able to be like, oh, this person couldn't do anything, they were stuck, or it's going to take forever, and you're able to solve it, that's huge. So let me ask you, when should people be thinking about contacting DataBahn? Is it, hey, we're looking to really expand or start a SIEM process practice at our organization? What are the key moments where it's the best time to reach out and say, hey, let's have a discussion?
I think a few things. I think if you are looking to upgrade to a new SIEM, you have a SIEM renewal, or you're looking to acquire a new SIEM, or to migrate a new one, as I mentioned. If you have a lot of application migration or application integration, if you have the significant issues around how can I integrate all of this data into my analytics or SIEM capability, that's where we can help. If you have an issue managing with your SOC cost, this is something obviously you can help with. And so anything around data engineering, data integration, I think we can be helpful with. The other thing also is that, and again, we'll talk more about that in January, that agentic AI capability in the SOC. Like, we built a capability that is really very effective, very easy to use, and very cost effective for organizations to use agentic AI in a controlled way within their security organization. So more to come on that. But the triggers I shared with you and you mentioned, I think will be good ones. Or just reach out to us for a chat. Like, you don't need a trigger. You can just reach out to us for a demo and just to see what those crazy guys are about.
Yes. Well, Dina, this has been incredibly informative. Thank you for coming on here and sharing. And I love hearing it.
Thank you.
Before we wrap up, though, what is the best way for them to learn more about DataBahn? Is it going to the website? What's the best way for them to kind of connect?
Yes. Go to the website, databahn.ai. It's a very, very fulsome website. I always say we are an engineering company, so don't be overwhelmed with the amount of nerdy stuff in there. DataBahn.ai. You can always find me on LinkedIn, and I'll send you the right person. But I was saying, just reach out for a chat, and we're happy to nerd out and show you how we can be helpful for different organizations.
Amazing. I will make sure that we have those links in the show notes. Dina, thank you so much for coming here on the podcast and sharing your expertise. It's been wonderful getting to talk to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your time, John, and pleasure talking to you.
This podcast is made possible by Cyberproof, a leading managed security services provider, helping organizations manage cyber risk through advanced threat intelligence, exposure management, and cloud security. From proactive threat hunting to managed detection and response, Cyberproof helps enterprises reduce risk, improve resilience, and stay ahead of emerging threats. Learn more at cyberproof.com. Thank you all for tuning in to Cyber Sentries. I'm your host, John Richards. This has been a production of True Story FM. Audio engineering by Andy Nelson. Music by Amit Sagi. You can find all the links in the show notes. We appreciate you downloading and listening to this show. Take a moment and leave a like and review. It helps us to get the word out. Starting next month, we are moving to the first week of the month. So we'll be back February 4th right here on Cyber Sentries.